Hi, it's Sandy Wyllie. Welcome to my mental health channel, where I wipe away the stigma of mental illness by talking about my own struggles having borderline personality disorder. I talk about struggling with post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, anxiety, and panic attacks. I talk about schizophrenia, narcissism, bipolar, um, and a plethora of other mental health related issues. I also talk about my own experiences and all the different therapies I've been in over the years, um, DBT, CBT, IFS, psychodynamic, psychoanalytical therapies, about my unethical psychologists, which I've had plenty of over the years. But I only come on as a former patient of almost 20 years, believe it or not, going to therapy. I am not a licensed therapist. I do not hold a degree in psychology, so I cannot diagnose you or give you a professional opinion. And all I ask in return of you is please show respect and kindness in the comments. Have respect for me. Have respect for other people who comment. We don't have to agree on everything, okay? Variety is the spice of life, but we need to respect each other's opinions and show kindness. If you are new to my channel, welcome! Please hit that subscribe button there on the right because it's 100% free, and that way you will be informed when when a new video comes out. You will get notification. If you like what you see, give it a thumbs up there. And so let's dive in to today's video. Do you overshare? Okay. Do you overshare on Facebook, on social media, with strangers that you barely know? What is oversharing? Why do we overshare? How it can be harmful to us to overshare? You might say that my whole channel is nothing but oversharing, and you would be correct. I personally overshare, um, tell people everything, anything and everything. I don't leave any details out because it's a catharsis for myself. Um, and also it helps other people know that they're not alone, that someone else is going through the exact same things that they've gone through. Um, and it kind of like it is therapeutic. Also, I'm being monetized to do that. I'm not going to lie and tell you that, that is not also a contributing factor, that I do get paid by Google for having a YouTube channel. Millions and millions of people have YouTube channels, but I'm getting away from it. I just want to be totally honest with you that, that factors into it too. But I did this even before I was monetized, so. And it's a creative outlet for me. But let's talk about oversharing, okay? A lot of people overshare, and I'll give you a good example of it. When I first met my best friend Holly at the park, her son and my son were the same age, within 1 year apart, and they started playing together, and we started talking, and we learned we had a lot in common. Like we were born one day apart. I'm July 11th, 1965. She was born July 10th, 1965. We're both Italian. We both had special needs children. Um, we both loved the 80s. She had the big hair like me. We both had the big hair. We both loved it. I mean, we had like a gazillion, like we really had a gazillion things in common. So I invited her and her family, her husband, herself, and her 2 children up to my house. I'm in my backyard, by the way. I'm on my hammock. That's my son's huge weight back there. I don't lift that kind of weight. That's like over 200 pounds. And there's my deck. See? A little view of my yard. I love being outside, so anytime I can do these videos, I do them outside. So I invited her to, my house for lunch, and she came, and this was like the first time outside of the park, okay, that we were together. Okay, I met her that one time at the park, and then I invited her to my house for lunch since we had so much in common. Now, during that lunch, she overshared um, a lot of very intimate details about her life that most people would have not wouldn't have overshared at all. For instance, she told me her husband was gay. That's very intimate, extremely intimate. She told me her husband was fired from his last job because the group of friends they had found out that he was gay, and they were prejudiced against that. And she just told me things that you probably wouldn't tell someone unless that you were very, very close to them. And remember now, this was the first time. If I could show you my bird bath. Where's my bird bath? Oh, it's all the way over. I wanted to show you my bird bath, but I can't do it from this angle. Hold on. I wanted to show you. See my bird bath there? I'm getting way off topic. It's just I love nature. I love my yard. So let's get back on topic. All right, so she overshared. She shouldn't have told me, the sexual preference of her husband. The very first time we get together, this was the very first time we got together. We met that one time in the park. We talked for, I don't know, maybe half an hour, maybe an hour, I don't know. But this was the first time we ever got together. I wasn't really her friend at this point. We were getting to know each other, okay? And, when you overshare with complete strangers, with someone you just met, okay, it kind of like makes the other person feel uncomfortable because, it's like having sex on the first date. It's like, and I don't believe in that, okay? It's getting too intimate too quickly. And I just don't believe in that kind of thing. It can make people feel very uncomfortable. It made me feel uncomfortable because I'm saying, why is this woman telling me her husband's gay? Why is this woman telling me he was, fired and that they lost all their friends because they used to live in Denver, and all their friends from Denver moved up here to Massachusetts with them and got employment. And so it puts the other person at a very uncomfortable level, which it put me and my husband at a very uncomfortable level. Now, why do people overshare like that? They do it on Facebook, and I'm going to get to the social media part next. I think in her case, she overshared because she was worried, very worried that I would reject her if I ever found out about her. So before she invested any emotional time into the friendship, she wanted to know right away before she invested any time into the friendship if I was going to accept her or I was going to reject her. So by telling me all that, like piling all that shit up front, was a way, because she felt so insecure because she lost so many friends before because she thought they rejected her because they found out her husband was gay. She wanted to know up front, are you going to be okay with that? Because if you're not going to be okay with that, and I lost all these friends before, then that's it. I'm going to nip it in the bud. I'm not going to invest any more of my emotions and my time and my energies in this relationship. We'll just go our separate ways now. Instead of, if she had told me that later on in the friendship when we got closer, when it would have been appropriate to tell me something so intimate, then she would have invested a lot of her feelings, a lot of her energies, a lot of her time and effort into the friendship. And if at that point I would have rejected her, it would have hurt immensely, and especially since she was rejected by her other friends, I don't think she'd be able to deal with that. It's much easier to be rejected initially than, if you've already invested so much of your feelings, and emotions in the relationship. So she just wanted to spill it all out there, put it all out there, and either I was going to accept it or I was going to reject it, But that's not how people usually operate, and a lot of times that can turn someone away. And my husband thought it was very, unusual and very odd for her to do that. I mean, I don't even do that I didn't even do that in therapy. I got to know the therapist a little bit at first before I started, spilling all my guts out. And a lot of people do that, overshare on social media, and especially on Facebook, because LinkedIn and other sites are more professional sites. Facebook is more of, generally it's not professional. It's like more friendlier, more laid back, And a lot of people will come on and share very intimate things about themselves that they normally wouldn't tell strangers. And it makes it safer to do on social media because, well, you're not doing it face to face. You're doing it, on the World Wide Web. So you have that, I can't say you're anonymous because, on Facebook people put their real names out there. Most of the people I know, I knew them from either working with them, or I went to school with them, or, but a lot of people I don't know at all on there. A lot of people, but anyway, people have much more courage to share information on social media platforms. And also, people who don't have emotional connections, I find they overshare on social media because they're looking for that emotional connection. They're looking for someone to validate their feelings. They're looking for someone to empathize with them. But it gives a false front, because a lot of people put these pictures on Facebook, like of all their families, their lovers, their vacations, and they look like they have this ideal, perfect life, when in fact they're very unhappy and depressed and miserable in their life. But their social media platform paints a different picture. And why do they do that? Why do they? Well, there's many reasons why people do that. I overshare on Facebook sometimes because it gives me emotional support. As you've seen in other videos, I don't have any friends, okay? So I don't go to therapy. I haven't gone to therapy in 3 years. So except for my husband and my son, I get no emotional support. So if I'm going through something, if I'm upset about something, like when my son was brutally beaten, I went to my therapist and he completely ignored me, the flies. So I shared that on social media, and I got a lot of support from people. Not everyone. Some people just completely ignored it, but other people didn't, and I got emotional support by those people, and that's why I overshared. Maybe someone wouldn't share something like that, but it is funny that your Facebook friends can give you more support than your real friends. I've heard other people say that. I don't know, because I don't have any real friends, but it's true that. Stop flying. It's bugging the hell out of me, that fly. But see, when you're outside, you got to deal with the shit. but I love it outside. So, th- so it is true that you get a lot of emotional support on sites like Facebook that you wouldn't normally get, even from your real friends. Like even when I had friends, I'd call friends and try to talk about my problems, and one of them would say, "Oh, well, my soap opera's on." Really? But every time that I wanted to talk, that every time that they wanted to talk about their problems, guess what? Who was there to listen to them? So I never got the emotional support from my real friends when I had them. So one time I was talking to my friend Holly, and I told her it was around Christmas time. Our bank account was wiped out. I don't know what happened. Someone hacked our bank account and wiped our bank account out, and we lost all our money. And this was right around Christmas time when we needed to buy gifts for our children. And I told her this, and she said, "Oh, I'll let you go." That's her response. "I'll let you go." Like she didn't want to, I don't want to listen to your shit. So if you have no emotional connection in your life, what do? You turn to your social media like your Facebook, and you use that as an outlet. Um, and a lot of people are very empathic. Not everyone, but a lot of people are empathic on Facebook, and sometimes it does. I mean, at least with me, it helps me to be able to share, and I do overshare. Uh, I overshare a lot, and but I don't do that. This is the thing now. I overshare on social media, but I don't overshare in person. I'm very shy and very private and very introverted. So if you were to meet me face to face, like in a social setting, I don't say anything about myself. In fact, I've been going to the same library for God, years and years. I don't know how many years. Many, many years. What was that? A flock of seagulls? Did you hear that? Like a flock of birds. I've been going there for many years, and the librarian tries to talk to me. She has conversations with me, and I don't say anything. I just let her talk, and she talks about like mundane stuff, boring stuff, nothing personal. She'll go on talking about her hairdo like for 10 or 15 minutes, and I'll be like, yeah. I don't like small talk, okay? I don't like small talk. Um, that's why I don't do well socializing, and I don't do well at parties. But I don't overshare with people in real life because I'm introverted and shy, and so I use the social media platforms like Facebook and LinkedIn. I share a lot on LinkedIn. I share all my books, and in my books and in my writing, I pour out all that private information as well. Very personal, very intimate, and very private. So let's get back to the oversharing. Is it healthy? Is it unhealthy? It can make some people, it feels like a boundary crossing, okay? When someone is oversharing, it's like, verbal diarrhea, especially if they're strangers or someone you don't know. It feels like someone is just like, purging on you, bombarding you with things that you like. You're not a therapist, right? You might feel very uncomfortable. Sorry. You might feel very uncomfortable because you're not a therapist. And they're like, they've crossed that emotional barrier, that boundary. With a therapist, it would be normal because that's what you're supposed to do in therapy. You're supposed to talk all about intimate things in your life. But with a person you don't know too well, oversharing can make them feel very uncomfortable. In fact, it can be a turn off. It can turn the person off, and wanting to get away from you because you've crossed their emotional boundary. They don't know you too well, and you're telling them intimate things, like when Holly told me her husband was gay, and her husband was sitting right next to her when I invited them over to lunch when I had first met her. I met her at the park. This was the very first time, I met her husband, and this is the very first time we saw each other outside the park. I only met her once at the park, one time, once. And here she was at my house with her husband and 2 children, and my son Austin. And and my son was only I don't know, 8 years old or something. He was very young, and he was at the table while she's saying, "Oh, my husband's gay. He likes men." And it's what it can. That was definitely making me feel very uncomfortable. It was making my husband feel uncomfortable, and it was crossing an emotional boundary, and that can turn people off. Did it turn me off? I was so desperate to have friends back then that I don't think anything turned me off, really. I was that desperate. Now I don't care. I'm fine not having friends. I go on and I tell you I don't have friends. People are all wrapped up in themselves, which Holly was. She was all wrapped up in herself. All she did was talk about herself and tell me way too much emotional diarrhea, verbal diarrhea, crossing that emotional boundary, exposing too much too fast, too soon. Just like having sex on the first date, which I don't believe in. If you believe in that and you do that, that's great, That's your business. I'm not putting you down. I'm telling you that I don't believe in it, that I think that's too fast. And just like, when you're face to face with strangers, you shouldn't be divulging personal information, too soon. You can turn people away from you. On social media, that's another thing, because you're hiding behind a screen on social media. So you feel you have more liberties. You feel more brave doing that. You can say that, yeah, I feel more brave doing my videos, especially my karaoke videos, which can be very seductive and dress very scantily, because even though they're going out to the masses because they're up on my YouTube channel, but I'm doing it alone, so I feel more brave doing it alone. Now, if I was in my backyard and there was 200 or 300 people, 100 people here, filling every corner, and now I've got to give this speech that I'm doing right now, and I'm totally alone in my backyard. Would I be able to give it as confidently as I am now when I'm totally alone, even though I know that hundreds of people, thousands of people could watch me, right? It would be different. I don't think I'd be able to do it if they were actually here, face to face seeing me, because then I can get their reaction, or I can get their, I can get their body language, whether they're, But when I'm doing it here in front of my phone, in front of my camera, I can't read your body language, I can't see if you're disgusted or if you think I'm an idiot or a jerk or a dumbass or whatever you're thinking, and YouTube will not allow all comments. And I delete comments that are very negative, and I don't get many comments that are negative, because YouTube screens things too. You just can't say anything on YouTube. They're very restrictive what they allow, even in the comments. And anyway, I can't see people's reactions when they watch it, because they're not there. I'm doing this. No one is watching it right now. I'm filming myself. But if people were here, I'd be able to see their reactions, and it would be much more different. I'd be much more shy and much more nervous, and it'd be totally different. So, and emotionally purging, is one of the reasons that people do it. Maybe people have no one to turn to in their real lives, or maybe people never learned boundaries in their childhood, so they really don't know what's socially acceptable. Like if you're autistic, you might not know what's socially correct and incorrect. I knew an autistic man, my son's age, who worked in Roach Brothers, And he said, "Oh, you two are my friends. Can you take me to Florida with you?" Because he knew no boundaries. He was autistic. I could tell he was autistic by his mannerisms. He used to walk on his feet and the way he presented himself. He didn't know any boundaries, so he thought me and my husband were friends with him, friends enough to take him to Florida on vacation with him because he was autistic. I mean, we smiled and said hi to him, and you know, and he thought, oh wow, they smiled and said hi, so they're my friends because they said hi, and they talk to me when they're shopping in Roach Brothers. So he wasn't aware of boundaries because of his autism. Other people might not be aware of their boundaries because they grew up with no boundaries. So the different reasons, but it can turn people off. It can have a negative effect on people when you cross that emotional boundary by having, verbal diarrhea, so to speak, and not having, saying too much too soon. Social media makes it much easier to do that. Like I said, I wouldn't be able to do or say or perform that karaoke if I had to do it in person. The fact that I'm doing it, alone with no one in the room makes it much more easier, even though I know that it's going out to the masses and I'm sharing it.